Hi, and welcome. This is Bradley Sheppy with Minnesota Landlord Law and MinnesotaLandlordLaw.com. I am a real estate attorney and practice in transactions as well as Minnesota landlord tenant law. And this is our free workshop of COVID-19 in your real estate business, which lesson 1 has to do with residential property in the COVID-19 era. And we're now at module 9, which is titled What to Do if a rental property resident contracts COVID-19. We've broken this module down into a 4-part series, and I'll walk through together with you today. First of all, step 1 is to consult the tenant lease for any emergency contact information. Your lease may or may not have had the form where the tenant who may now have COVID-19 stated a friend, a parent, a sister, the name and phone number. Regardless of how the situation unfolds, that is very good to know. Second, it's also great to know how the rent is paid, right? So if you have someone with COVID-19 who may have to leave the property, it'd be good to know, do you have automatic payments or is that tenant paying via check? Step 2, call your tenant. First, you want to share your support. After being notified, you want to reach out to them. Your first question should not be, how are you going to pay your rent? You should also talk to them, understand their background, ask for any missing emergency contact information, name, phone, email, etc. Have a brief discussion with the tenant about will they expect anyone to come visit the unit? Will there be anyone in there who may need access while they're gone, and they can contact you, the property owner or manager. You can obviously remind them of CDC and state guidelines if they remain in place. It's possible that, actually more likely, that if a tenant has COVID-19, they're simply going to remain in the house or the apartment unit, which means that they are in your community. If you have a multifamily unit property, that means they have the potential to be around others in the apartment. And so you should advise them to not use the laundry room and to wear a mask when they're in the common area. Step 3, it's smart to write the tenant an email. This is just kind of cover the background and make sure that you have the proper notification if and when other tenants are concerned or have an issue, that you as the owner or property manager took action with this knowledge. But again, it's very, very important to mention the only person you're writing this email is the tenant who notified you, who volunteered the information to you. You never, ever want to share this COVID-19 information with any other tenant. And in this email to the tenant only who notified you, you want to confirm what we just talked about in step 2, which is don't use common area amenities such as a laundry room until you're negative with COVID-19. And you want to include a link to the CDC guidelines, what to do if you're sick, which is actually attached here for an easy download. And lastly, if the lease does not contain the emergency contact information, ask for it again in the email. And then in the only time you want to talk about rent is just politely remind the tenant via email that tenant rent is due, even in the governor's peacetime emergency. Lastly, step 4, now that you know whether the tenant's staying or leaving, you've notified them, you've had a phone call and hopefully an email as well. We talked about do not notify other tenants. Step 1, very important, medical privacy regulations. You don't want to go there. And lastly, it's important just to follow up with the tenant weekly. How are you doing? Are you still there? Is there anything that we can do to help you? Customer service when times are bad will go a long way to address any concerns. Plus, as a landlord, you want to know if the unit's abandoned, is someone there? So just a weekly check-in will be very helpful. I hope you've enjoyed the entire COVID-19 lesson series that we've produced now. This is actual module 9 that we talked about. Coming soon, we'll actually have a for sale by owner step-by-step module, as well as purchasing commercial property module. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you're welcome to click here on the lesson and call and set up a phone call to discuss that with me in a limited scope legal relationship. And you also may subscribe to workshop updates here at the bottom. Once again, thank you very much. This is Bradley Sheppy from Minnesota Landlord Law and MinnesotaLandlordLaw.com. Thank you.